Have Western powers begun to lose their influence in Burkina Faso, or is the international community witnessing a temporary realignment in global relations? This question has generated considerable discussion among political analysts, diplomats, and security experts. Under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso has emerged as one of Africa's most closely observed nations, not only due to its internal challenges but also because of the broader geopolitical implications of its policy decisions. As the country continues to redefine its foreign policy priorities and strengthen regional partnerships, many observers suggest that a significant transformation is underway, while others maintain that the situation remains complex. What is evident, however, is that Burkina Faso now occupies a central position in one of Africa's most consequential geopolitical discussions. For decades, Western countries have played a substantial role in security cooperation, development assistance, and diplomatic engagement across the Sahel. The region has attracted sustained international attention due to persistent security threats, humanitarian concerns, and the proliferation of armed groups operating across national borders. Burkina Faso, like several of its neighbors, has maintained partnerships with Western governments to enhance security and support national development. In recent years, however, the Sahel has experienced notable political changes. Public dissatisfaction with ongoing insecurity, economic hardship, and limited progress on long-standing challenges has intensified calls for alternative approaches. Within this evolving context, Ibrahim Traoré has emerged as a prominent regional figure, advocating for policies centered on national sovereignty, security, and self-reliance. Since assuming leadership, Traoré has consistently emphasized that Burkina Faso should make decisions aligned with its national interests. His public statements underscore the importance of reducing reliance on external actors while promoting stronger regional cooperation and increased domestic accountability. These positions have resonated with supporters who advocate for greater autonomy in shaping Africa's political and economic future. This shift in policy orientation has attracted significant international attention. Governments worldwide closely monitor developments in strategically important regions, particularly those affecting regional security and economic stability. Consequently, Burkina Faso's evolving foreign policy has become a focal point of diplomatic discourse. A key development has been the strengthening of cooperation among Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger through the Alliance of Sahel States. This partnership reflects a shared commitment to addressing common security challenges while exploring deeper political and economic collaboration. Rather than prioritizing bilateral relationships with external powers, these countries have increasingly emphasized regional coordination. Proponents argue that this approach represents a move toward African-led solutions to African challenges, potentially enhancing coordination against cross-border threats and strengthening economic resilience. Critics, however, caution that achieving these objectives will require substantial resources, sustained political commitment, and demonstrable progress. The evolving diplomatic landscape has prompted some analysts to question whether Western influence in Burkina Faso is diminishing. However, such assessments are not straightforward. Influence in international relations is dynamic and rarely defined by a single event or policy shift. Diplomatic relationships evolve over time, often reflecting changing national priorities rather than permanent realignments. Western governments continue to maintain an interest in developments across the Sahel, given the region's strategic importance. Security concerns, migration dynamics, humanitarian issues, and economic interests all contribute to ongoing international engagement. Simultaneously, Burkina Faso has demonstrated a willingness to diversify its international partnerships, reflecting a broader trend among nations seeking greater flexibility in foreign policy. Public opinion also plays a significant role in shaping the current environment. Across parts of Africa, discussions surrounding sovereignty, governance, and international partnerships have become increasingly prominent. Many citizens are reassessing whether traditional development and security arrangements have delivered the expected outcomes. Burkina Faso has become a focal point for these debates. The influence of social media has further amplified these discussions. Speeches, images, and political messaging from Burkina Faso frequently circulate beyond national borders, fostering dialogue among audiences across Africa and globally. For some observers, Traoré represents a leader advocating for greater national independence. For others, the long-term viability of his approach will depend on tangible outcomes rather than symbolic gestures. Economic considerations remain critical in shaping the country's trajectory. Burkina Faso continues to face significant challenges related to development, infrastructure, employment, and security. Addressing these issues requires effective governance, sustained investment, and long-term strategic planning. Regardless of political orientation, delivering measurable improvements in citizens' quality of life remains essential. The broader geopolitical context further underscores the significance of these developments. The international system is becoming increasingly multipolar, with countries expanding diplomatic and economic partnerships across diverse regions. African governments are also seeking greater strategic autonomy, enabling engagement with multiple partners while advancing national priorities. Burkina Faso's evolving foreign policy reflects this broader global trend. Whether these developments will ultimately reduce Western influence remains uncertain. Influence is not static, it adapts to changing circumstances. While some traditional relationships may be evolving, new forms of cooperation continue to emerge. Rather than viewing the situation as a binary contest between competing powers, many experts interpret it as part of Africa's broader effort to expand its diplomatic options within an interconnected global landscape. The coming years will be critical. Security challenges persist throughout the Sahel, and economic development remains a priority. The Alliance of Sahel States is still in its formative stages, and its long-term effectiveness will depend on its ability to deliver concrete results. History often highlights periods when nations reassess their position within the international system. Burkina Faso may currently be experiencing such a moment. Decisions made today have the potential to influence regional politics, diplomatic relationships, and security cooperation for years to come. At present, one fact is clear: Burkina Faso is receiving unprecedented international attention. Governments, researchers, and policy experts are closely monitoring developments, recognizing that the country's choices may have implications extending beyond its borders. The central question may not simply be whether Western influence is declining in Burkina Faso, but whether the country is contributing to a new model of international engagement, one in which African nations pursue broader partnerships while prioritizing their own strategic interests. The answer will ultimately be determined not by rhetoric, but by the outcomes achieved in the years ahead. Should these outcomes reshape regional dynamics, the developments unfolding in Burkina Faso may come to be regarded as one of the defining geopolitical shifts in contemporary Africa. After examining the broader picture, it becomes clear that Burkina Faso's current trajectory is about much more than relations with any single group of countries. It reflects a wider conversation taking place across Africa about sovereignty, regional cooperation, economic development, and the freedom of nations to determine their own strategic priorities. Whether Ibrahim Traoré's approach ultimately succeeds will depend not on political rhetoric alone, but on measurable progress in security, governance, economic opportunity, and stability. The international community will continue watching closely because the implications extend beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Neighboring countries, regional organizations, and global powers all have an interest in understanding how this new direction develops. If the country's policies produce lasting improvements, they could influence future debates across the continent. If major challenges persist, they may reinforce calls for different approaches. For now, Burkina Faso stands at a historic crossroads. Every diplomatic decision, every security initiative, and every regional partnership will help shape the country's future and contribute to Africa's evolving geopolitical landscape. The world is paying attention because the outcome could influence not only one nation, but also the wider balance of partnerships and cooperation across the continent. One thing is certain: this story is still unfolding, and its most important chapter may not have been written yet. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts on this development in the comments section.